Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a very long time I haven't made a video. I think the last video was October 2020 that I went drifting at iCar with Jeffrey. So I know the last video I spoke about my new power plant for the S14. That's what we'll be covering today. In the last video you saw the disassembly of the engine, and that was done about a year ago, I gotta say. Roughly a year ago I filmed that video. And last summer the block got redone and came back here in the middle of the summer, but I put it in the corner. I didn't touch it. I ended up just enjoying the SR20 one last season. Went drifting a couple of times with the girlfriend, but didn't really do anything through the summer, neither through the winter. As I said, I just spent it, you know, whether it's with my girlfriend or snowmobiling or with the family. So now's the time though. It's springtime, the snow has melted, and it is time to get the V8 done. And just a little rewind, the SR20 that was in the S14, actually I pulled it out already. Through this winter I pulled the SR20 out of the S14 and I pulled the KA out of the S13. So what happened, little backstory, last spring I took out the S13 convertible out of storage, and I went for one drive with my girlfriend, just, you know, going for, and I wasn't beating it or anything, just like for regular coasting. And I was actually supposed to teach her, well, she already knows how to drive manual, but I just wanted her to drive it, and it had been a while she hadn't driven manual. And even before she could get in the car, I was just driving down the road, we're listening to some music. I have a subwoofer in this car, so it was booming away, and I heard a weird sound, so I'm like, what's that? So I lowered the volume, of course. Rod knock. So the KA died, so I limped it back home and parked it. I did not drive it all summer. So just before the winter I pulled the KA out of the S13, pushed it back outside, put the S14 in the garage, pulled the SR out, put the S14 in the trailer, parked it in the yard. S13 over the winter, spent all its time here. I'll show you roughly what was done. It's pretty much ready to be enjoyed. Something on the convertible roof has to be fixed, so I can't really put it down right now. And it needs new rear tires, and I'm actually switching the mags. So that's pretty much done. So now's the time that we jump onto the V8, so it could be ready for the 2022 drifting season. And I won't go into much detail about the drifting season. I'll cover that in the next video. But today we'll cover what has been done to the block of the V8, all the parts that are going in. We were actually supposed to build it, assemble everything today, but we were missing a tool to remove the gear on the crankshaft for the timing chain. So that got halted. So tomorrow I'm gonna go pick up the tool, and hopefully this week we're gonna assemble the block. I don't think it'll take much time, maybe like 2 hours to assemble the block completely. So let me show you what was done to the S13, and after that we'll jump on the V8. So over the winter I put the SR in. I buffed the car. I still didn't glaze it nor wax it, but I'll probably do that when the weather's a bit warmer. I'll do it outside. So nothing, you know, this is not a show car. This is just in the summer, if it's nice, I pretty much daily drive this. So I haven't cleaned anything up yet, but the SR is in. I quickly repainted most of the bay. I didn't do the firewall, but this car is really, really clean. This thing has never seen winter, so there's little to no rust on this car. Maybe just a little surface rust on the front portion of oh, I was looking for my magnet. There it is. So a bit of rust on the rocker panels, just a bit of surface rust, about like 4 or 5 inches. That could just be wire brushed away. So the SR is in the car. It has the mid mount, the same intercooler and rad setup. So I'm actually running an S14 rad. There is extensions that were made to get the rad a bit closer to the engine, and we have the intercooler that actually sits right under the rad support. I love this. It has short piping, It's really a fun, it's clean, and the turbo is a S15 T28, and right now everything is stock. It is running, I think, like 12, 13 pounds. Obviously, one day I would like to just switch out the injectors, put some maybe 440 cc's, change the MAF, get a Z32 MAF, and just tune this at like 18 psi. So yeah, that's pretty much. Oh yeah, I'm gonna also get the valve cover. I have like some spare valve covers. I want to get it powder coated. So, oh yeah, and you can see I actually left the battery in the front. I put a Miata battery in the front, so it fits a little bit tight, but it fits perfect, so I don't have to relocate the battery in the back. As I said before, this thing needs new tires, but I'm actually also putting new mags on the car. So I'll keep that for another video, but I could give you a little teaser. Whoa. Yeah. So I still have to clean this car. It still has some compound and everything on it. What's left to be done? It needs a massive cleaning. This thing has Corbeau bucket seats. It has a cage, bolt-in cage in the back, but I actually managed to put my hands on some interior panels because when I bought the car they weren't there. So I managed to put my hands on some. I should be getting them soon. I will just need to find a rear bench, or I'll try to modify a hatch or coupe rear bench to fit in here because I know it's smaller in the convertible. In the front, I 3D printed a mount for the wideband there, and I also 3D printed a bezel to sit under the radio. And I didn't want to put it in the vents because this car still has heating, so I don't want to lose my vents for heating when I drive this car in October or November. So yeah, other than that, just need a really good cleanup, reassemble the dash, well the glove box. I do have a new blow off. This thing right now has like a Greddy Type S or Type Y. I'm not sure which blow off valve. I bought it when I bought the intercooler and piping setup, and it sounds like the Green Eclipse and Fast and Furious one. So it sounds like it's straight out of the 2000s. But I'm just gonna switch to a teal 50mm blow-off valve, and that should be much better. And I'll put the Greddy blow-off valve on the shelf as a memory. But yeah, so that's pretty much what needs to be done on the S13. It needs some cleaning up, you know, like needs new wipers. Need to take the wipers arms off and paint them flat black. You know, little things. I have everything to convert this thing to Type X. So I have the Type X side skirts. I have the Type X front bumper on its way. I have the front lip for the Type X. I have the extensions for the fenders. For the rear, I have nothing right now. I'll probably just leave it like that for now. I don't want to give this car too much attention. I just really want to make it clean and enjoyable for the summer, for nice sunny days so I could drop the top. One thing though is I did keep the same motor mounts as what was in the drift car, and it's solid Delrin motor mounts and tranny mount, and I gotta say this thing vibrates the dash and vibrates the whole interior of the car. So hopefully I'm gonna find somebody who wants to trade or wants to buy the motor mounts, and I'm gonna switch out to either some like OEM mounts or some Nismo mounts or Megan Racing mounts. So that's one thing I would really want to do before I start enjoying it on the road. So that's it for the S13. Now let's jump to the V8. So let's start with what has been done to the block right now, and then I'll go over the parts that'll be going in. Hopefully this week we're gonna assemble the block, and I want to quickly put it in the car just for some test fitting. I want to measure for the drive shaft so I could order the drive shaft, bring the car over to Ardo's so he could quickly fab up a transmission mount, sorry, and then get it back here, finish the wiring and everything, and get this thing started. So here it is. Here's the block completely redone. Everything's brand spanking new. And one of my buddies offered up to redo the block for me. So took it to him last year and he completely redid it. And I gotta say, he did a beautiful job. So what was done to the block? First of all, just so people don't get mixed up, yes, I keep on saying an LS, but it's technically not an LS. It's a LQ that is out of a 2500, let's say Sierra, 2500 HD Sierra, Silverado. I think some of the Hummers or even the big trucks. It's pretty much an LS2, but it's a cast block. So it's a 6-liter block, and it comes with aluminum heads, but I changed the heads. I'll show you what I got after. So what we did to this block. So sorry, I said everything's brand new. The only thing that's not brand new is the pistons. We completely, I forget what it's called, the machine that they put it in, they make it look brand new. So that was cool. So a lot of people are asking me, why did I keep the stock pistons? Just to explain why I kept the stock pistons, because literally everything has been changed except the pistons. So they look brand new because they were put through I think it's an ultrasound machine that they put it through. When I bought this engine, I really wanted to do like a budget build, something really cheap. I just wanted to like open it up, inspect it. At first I didn't even want to open it up. I was just going to run it as is, maybe change the intake and just run it as is, and in the future upgrade the engine, or switch to a different LS, an LS3 or something. So when I bought this engine though, it did have a bit of low compression, so we decided to open it up and inspect it. And I came to the conclusion that I should at least do like a refresh. So change the rings and bearings. You know how these things go on. You end up doing this, and then you should do this, and then you should do this. So what happened is I ended up going with forged rods. So actually I'll flip the block around and I'll show you what it looks like. So as you can see, I was going to keep the stock rods, but my buddy really recommended, because these things they're called crack rods. So they're like one piece and then they crack the caps off and whatever. I'm not a huge LS pro. But yeah, so he said that they're pretty much the weak point of these engines. So I went with Eagle forged H-beam rods and ARP studs, as you can see here. And the rods that I bought are made for the stock pistons. So once I bought the rods, further on I thought, I should have bought new pistons. Once I'm changing the rods, why not change the pistons? But it was too late, because the rods are for stock pistons, and if I would have gone aftermarket pistons, the rods would be no good. But my buddy said that this is going to be a really solid engine. With all the other upgrades I'm doing, I think I'm going to be really happy. So it's going to be a really reliable, hopefully, knock on wood, but it's really going to be a reliable and plenty of power for what I want to do with it. So it's going to be a good build. So let's get back to everything that's been done. So aside from putting the pistons through the ultrasound machine and the Eagle rods with the ARP bolts, all the bearings were changed for ACL race bearings. The rings are all brand new, obviously. So everything was refreshed. Everything was, the block was decked. It was honed. And he pretty much did everything so it could be like brand new. He even cleaned up the block, painted it. It's a little too aluminum to my taste, but it'll do the job. And that's pretty much how I picked it up from him. So now we could get into all the parts that I'll be running, all the parts that I bought. I gotta say, I've been buying parts. I haven't touched it for a year, but I've been buying parts for a year, and I gotta say, this build is costing me a lot more than I thought, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm hopefully will have built a very reliable engine that's gonna give me years and years of fun, with hopefully just minor oil changes, spark plugs, and hopefully, I don't want to jinx myself, but hopefully it's going to be an engine that I will enjoy for many years to come. So let's start with the cam. So after doing a lot of research, I was really torn between BTR, Brian Tooley Racing, and Texas Speed, but I ended up going with the Brian Tooley Racing Stage 3 cam that they make for LS1, LS2, and I think LS6. I don't remember the specs by heart. Like I said, this is my first V8, so I know nothing, or no, I wouldn't say nothing, but I don't know as I know SR20s so well. So the Stage 3 cam, it's actually already installed. We installed it today, as you can see right here. Now, what happened, what I was saying, why we didn't end up assembling the engine today, is I have to switch out this gear for the timing chain. So this gear and this sleeve right here, and I don't have the tool to remove it. So that we put the cam in, and that's pretty much where we stopped. So we'll have to get this off this week, and then I'll be able to reassemble the block. So Brian Tooley cam. I am running the stock volume but high pressure Melling oil pump. Cloys, they have so many models of the let's get this open, of the timing. I didn't want to get a dual chain because then you have to space the oil pump, and then I think the cover too needs to be spaced. But I spoke to the customer service at Cloys, and they said for my power and everything, I'm going to be the amount of RPMs I'll be running, this is more than enough. People run like up to like 600 or 700 horsepower with this setup. So I went with this setup for the timing chain. What's next? Well, here, I'll show this. So this is the cam retaining plate. And you'll see here, there's a chain damper. Now this is not stock. It does come stock on LS2s. In the block, there's 2 holes that are threaded to put this. Now, obviously this block is not. So you have 2 options. They sell a template that you could drill and tap the block, which I didn't really want to do. Or Trick Flow sells this plate. I don't know if you see, yeah, this black plate will replace the 3 bottom bolts on the cam plate. You bolt it on top, and then you get to bolt the chain damper. Now, I don't know how important this is. I did a bit of research, and a lot of people recommended it. And for the, it was like, I think this setup was like $70 or something. I might be wrong, but it was under $100. So for peace of mind, I bought it. It's bolted in. Once, like I said, when we get this gear removed, we'll be able to install the chain and everything. So that's that. Obviously, I got ARP hardware for everything. And, oh, sorry. I said it was Trick Flow, but it's actually Melling again that makes that the bracket for the damper. So let's continue on as we work our way up the engine. I actually got Ls7 Gm Performance Lifters, not the regular Ls7 lifters. Now this too was hard to choose. There was lots of options. And I got to say, lots of pricey options, but I was recommended to run these lifters. And so hopefully these will be good for my setup. As we move up into the heads, let's show the heads. Now, I ended up getting a set of heads off an LS6. So they're 243 heads. These were actually built by Tom by TK Race for a prior engine for another drifter. He was actually running turbo. So this thing was obviously fully cleaned up. It has dual springs. I'm not sure of the brand, but it has dual springs and it has Manley valves. So I don't know if I could do this with one hand. You can see there. So this guy hardly drove the car. They were very clean. I just cleaned them up a bit more. So by the reason being that I went with these heads and just didn't keep these stock heads, they have smaller chambers. So the CCs are smaller for these heads. And what that does is it raises the compression of the engine. So by raising the compression, we could go get a bit more power. So to continue, I will be running the stock rockers, but I will be running the Brian Tooley Racing again, the trunnion upgrade. So you change out the sleeves in the rockers. None people have been running these setups for like way more horsepower than I'll be running. So that'll be good. Now, aside from all these aftermarket parts, obviously, gaskets, seals, a lot of AC Delco stuff. These are the buckets for the lifters. Rear main seal, oil pan gasket, GM Performance head gaskets. Am I missing anything else? For sure I'm missing, oh yeah. Now I gotta say a big thanks to my father, who is also building an LS1 out of a GTO going into his 1967 Camaro SSRS convertible resto mod. Now, I hadn't bought anything for the accessories yet, and it ends up he bought an aftermarket setup. I'm not sure, I forget what brand it is. Dirty Dingo, or no, I don't think it's Dirty Dingo. Anyways, that doesn't matter. He hooked me up with all his old parts that he had fully sandblasted, professionally painted. Look at this. Look how beautiful that is. I'm gonna feel bad to have something so nice. Water pump. So this is LS1 GTO accessory drives. So we have the alternator, water pump, harmonic damper, power steering pump, the idler, stuff for the water pump, all the hardware. So I got really lucky on that. So yeah, oh, one thing. Speaking of power steering, whoa, we have the Sicky power steering line that'll adapts the LS power steering to the S14 rack. Speaking of Sicky, I am running these Sicky mounts. Oh, upside down. Motor's upside down. This I'm a little worried about because they actually for S13, apparently S13 and S14 are different. When I spoke to the guy, he said it should still work. It's the distance between the cross member to the oil pan, but he thinks that it's the S14 cross member that's taller. So I don't know. Anyways, that's why I really want to assemble it, put it in the car, or else they told me to call them and they'll hook me up with just the core. The rest will be the same. I'm also obviously running the Sicky oil pan. And it comes with the oil filter relocation kit. I have the headers. Pretty much have everything. Finally, front cover, rear cover, valley cover, sandblasted everything. And my buddy powder coated it for me. As you can see how nice it came out. Look how sick that is. Came out beautiful. So that's really going to look good on the front of the engine. So yeah, my goal is hopefully to get this thing running very soon. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I could get this thing started. Hopefully I'll have received the drive shaft in time and get this thing going because I want to go burn some rubber. Next weekend I'm actually going to New Jersey with my girlfriend. We're going to Adam LZ's event at Englishtown, and I think at the same time it's actually drift week, so there's drifting on Saturday and Sunday at Englishtown. So it's going to be a fun weekend, fun Easter weekend in the States. Now that they changed all the you don't need to get tested, I think, when you buy car there and back. So it's going to be a fun weekend. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. If you have any questions, any comments, any tips, I'm always happy to read everything you guys have to say. So see you next time.